Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Christabelle Spiritualist Church here in beautiful Cherry Valley, Illinois. Isn't it a glorious Sunday morning? Don't you love coming to church or virtually being here just so that you can watch and learn and grow and be a part of the joy and the beauty that is spiritualism? I get excited just being here. I love this place. So before we begin our sermon and before I start with our invocation and with our declaration of principles, I would like to do a few announcements, if you want to think of it that way. First and foremost, just so you know, our church board, even though Illinois has started to open up to gatherings of up to 50 people with social distancing, with masks, all that sort of thing, our church board has decided to hold off on starting any sort of an in-person service for the time being. We will update you as soon as we know more about when we'll be having everyone back here at this beautiful chapel and on these beautiful grounds. So if you would like to please contribute to our virtual offering plate to help us take care of these beautiful grounds, or if something that we have talked about in any of our sermons resonates with you, we would greatly appreciate anything that you can do to help us to keep these doors open, to keep these lights on. Also, we do have a few events that are still tentatively scheduled over the summer, but because we are still deciding when we're going to be having in-person services, keep an eye on our Facebook page, keep an eye on our virtual calendar that we have through Google. We will be updating that, whether or not we're going to be actually having those events, so please keep an eye out. Also, as a part of that, as an extension of that little announcement, for those of you who are not on our church's mailing list, every Wednesday I put out what I call a What's Up Wednesday with the Christabelle Spiritualist Church. And through that mailing list, through that email list, you can find out what's happening with the church. So if you're interested, please feel free to message us through our Facebook page or on our actual Christabelle Spiritualist Church website. You can email us at christabellechurch@gmail.com and let us know you'd like to be a part of the mailing list, and we'll get you on there, and then you can receive updates as to what's happening with the church. So that way you don't miss out on anything fun. And now I want to say how much I really enjoy doing these virtual sermons. So I really do appreciate all of you tuning in with me every week. So thank you also for that. And now, let's begin, shall we? Great Spirit. As spiritualists, we gather here this day to renew our declaration to the principles upon which the religion of spiritualism was founded. We pray that the spirit of tranquility descend upon this congregation, and that it will flow to our absent members and to all in need of prayer. We warmly welcome and give thanks for the presence of our spirit family, friends, guides, and teachers. We give thanks for their closeness and desire to demonstrate the continuity of life and love. Amen. The Declaration of Principles. We believe in infinite intelligence. We believe that the phenomena of nature, both physical and spiritual, are the expressions of infinite intelligence. We affirm that a correct understanding of such expression and living in accordance therewith constitute true religion. We affirm that the existence and personal identity of the individual continue after the change called death. We affirm that communication with the so-called dead is a fact scientifically proven by the phenomena of spiritualism. We believe that the highest morality is contained in the Golden Rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. We affirm the moral responsibility of individuals and that we make our own happiness or unhappiness as we obey or disobey nature's physical and spiritual laws. We affirm that the doorway to reformation is never closed against any soul, here or hereafter. We affirm that the precepts of prophecy and healing are divine attributes proven through mediumship. Yes, we do, every week. I want to add one more announcement before I go into my sermon this morning. And I would be completely remiss if I did not mention the tie that I am currently wearing. This is a gift from one of our virtual congregation members. It was a tie that actually belonged to her late husband, who is now an unofficial member in spirit, watching the church, watching the sermons. So thank you very much, Debbie, and thank you very much, Monty, for the tie. I really like it. And now let's begin our sermon, which today our sermon is titled, It's All About the We Go. And we are going to be talking about the we go, but first I really want to mention that this sermon was actually inspired by another sermon that I saw from a different pastor about a month or so ago. And it was somebody that I could see watching this sermon. I could see rage, I could see anger, I could see frustration watching how the world is going. And I could see this person having a very difficult time processing how many people in this world right now just seem to be focused on the ego and seem to be focused on the negatives. And while I'm watching her and I could see the anger in her face, I could hear the pain in her voice. And that inspired me to write this sermon with Spirit's help, to hopefully help provide a little bit of insight and a little bit of guidance that maybe can help us all. So we will be talking about the we go, but first we're going to be talking about the ego. In order to get to the we go, we must first go through the ego. So now just out of curiosity, how many of you out there are familiar with the ego? Show of hands. Got a bunch of people out there? Okay, everybody knows the word. Do many of you really understand what the ego is? I know we've all heard that term, but Dr. Sigmund Freud is the one who actually really postulated that the ego was the part of our personality that experiences things as the self or the I, and is also the part of our personality that experiences the world around us through our perceptions. So in plain English, what that basically means, it means that the ego is the main part that creates our individuality. The ego says, it's all about me. It's all about who we are and who I am in relation to the universe at large. Now, I do understand that is a bit of an oversimplification. However, for what we're talking about here today, I do think that analogy will work just fine. It'll be good enough. We're not in a psychology class. In my experience, though, the ego is an interesting thing. It really is, because for some people, they will have something of an underdeveloped sense of ego. Other people will have a much more overdeveloped sense of ego. And then there are other people also out there who still have, a pretty balanced, pretty healthy sense of their ego and how it relates to the universe. So let's start with the people who have a more of an underdeveloped sense of ego. These are the people who generally lack boundaries or are a bit more reserved. These are the people who really, in a sense, they lack self-esteem. They lack a strong self-image. These people don't always have that strong self-image and that strong sense of self, so they can feel very emotionally weak or very disempowered, if you understand that word. It's really about not feeling like you fit in. It's about feeling like you don't deserve good things. That's really where the underdeveloped sense of ego is. It's a sense of people who don't feel they deserve to have even the things that are in their lives already. Now, quite often, people will sabotage themselves, unintentionally because of those feelings of unworthiness. It can really be difficult for people to remember that not only do they deserve good things, but that they are important too. Remember that. If you ever walk around feeling like you are unimportant or like you don't matter, you matter. Unless you E equals MC squared and then you energy. But, sorry, bad physics joke. The challenge for those people, though, is really starting to recognize and understand their place in a larger society. Where do they fit into everything? Because most of those people, they tend to see themselves as being in a life of servitude as opposed to a life of service. And while a life of service is absolutely admirable and wonderful, it can be very rewarding. See the sermon, How Do You Measure Success, for more on that. It can also lead to someone having a mindset of servitude in which they don't feel that they have the boundaries. They don't feel that they can keep anything for themselves because they're so busy giving to everyone else because everyone else is more important than they are. But no, it is not healthy to give until it hurts. It really isn't. It's not healthy to give of yourself to others to the detriment of yourself. Please don't do that. Understand that you deserve good things as well. So for those of you who are having a difficult time with those boundaries, with that sense of self, with that sense of self-esteem, with those feelings of having positive boundaries and having feelings of being worthy, I highly recommend looking to our church's Be Water sermon, but especially the Anxiety Lies sermon. Both contain several techniques that can help you to develop your ego in a more healthy, empowered way. Those people with an overdeveloped sense of ego are the ones we've been seeing a lot in the news lately. I'm sure I don't have to mention any names. I'm sure you've seen those people. For them, it really is all about the I or the me all the time. If you want to think of it that way, it's all about me. These are the people who have a difficult time understanding why they should concern themselves with anyone else or if anything else in the universe. If it doesn't affect them directly, why should they care? By the same token, that even if it does affect them, they're only concerned about getting what they want, even if it's at the expense of other people. And I know this may seem harsh, but I've run across quite a few people lately who fit that description, who are very egocentric or very egoist, depending on the terminology you would prefer. And as much as this sounds very harsh and I hesitate to word it this way, it is actually quite accurate. Many of these people who are very egocentric, who are very overdeveloped in their sense of ego, these are the people who they will happily sink the whole ship, even if it means taking everyone with them, if they cannot be captain. So if you understand what I mean by that, they are the people who, they're going to sink that whole ship if they can't be captain, if they can't be the person in charge, or the person who feels like they're running things, regardless of the truth of it, as long as on the surface it looks like they're the one in control and they're the one making all the decisions to make everything work. That's all they care about. They don't care about helping and healing other people. Their only concern is how good they look while they're helping and healing other people. They're into getting that ego gratification, and that's all they care about. And the challenge for people with that overdeveloped sense of ego is really to understand that the universe does not exist solely for them. That they are not the center of the universe. They are a part of the universe that is meant to work in conjunction with other parts of the universe. In other words, other people. And they do have a hard time quite often seeing other people as being living beings with a soul, with a purpose of their own. And usually they tend to see people as tools that they can use and not somebody with their own thoughts, words, actions. It really reminds me a lot of the movie Doctor Strange, which I know I've brought up once before in my Bill Comes Due sermon. But Doctor Strange is told in the movie that arrogance and fear still keep you from learning the simplest and most significant lesson of all. And he says, which is, it's not about you. And that is the hardest part for somebody who has an overdeveloped ego. It's not about them. It's really about understanding that what they're doing isn't really helping and healing and helping them to understand that by standing on the backs of other people to get where they want to be, they're ultimately going to end up hurting themselves sometime in this life, but especially in the next one. So if you recognize that you are being a bit egocentric or, a little bit too centered in your own ego, I highly recommend checking out the sermon, How Do You Measure Success? That might help to give you a little different perspective on what true success is. What have you got to lose? It might help. Now, a lot of people actually have a pretty balanced, pretty healthy ego, with a strong sense of self, but also they have a strong sense of what it means to be part of a community. Now, these are generally what I'm going to call the effective leaders out there in the world. They are the people who embody the spirit of the we go. What I am referring to with the we go is actually a new way of thinking, doing, being, a way of looking at each of us as being a piece of a much bigger puzzle or a very important cog in a giant universal machine. For those of you with an underdeveloped sense of ego or self, it really means acknowledging that you are also important, that you are at least as important as everyone else. For those with an overdeveloped sense of ego, it means coming to grips with the fact that you are not the center of the universe, but that you are just a piece of that cosmic machine. And for people with a healthy ego, you know what? It's really just a matter of recognizing and understanding and continuing to do what they do. Just kind of continuing to understand that you are a part of this universe and that you have a place in this universe, and just kind of doing what you've been doing, which is helping and healing others while also being able to take care of yourself. So, okay, fine. Mr. Student Pastor, man, you've been standing up here for the last 15 minutes or so, and you've given me exhausting information about the ego. But what is the we go? You've touched on it, but you haven't really explained it yet. So, okay, your wait is over. The we go is all about a new way of thinking. It stands for we go together to learn, grow, thrive, and strive. The we go is all about transcending the ego, the I or the me, and turning it into the we. How do we do that? How does, the me turn into the we? It's a little bit more than just, flipping the M over to make it a W in we. Quite simply, what it boils down to is we believe in infinite intelligence, which also leads into we believe that the phenomena of nature, both physical and spiritual, are the expressions of infinite intelligence. And I know I just read those to you a few minutes ago, but by having that knowledge that we are part of something bigger, that everything we do ripples out like a pebble being thrown into a pond, it gives us an entirely different perspective on our words, thoughts, and actions. Everything that we do ripples out and affects other people in a multitude of ways. When we know that we have an effect on others, we go out of our way to be a pebble that ripples out in a more positive way. I completely understand, that what I'm talking about may seem like kind of a revolutionary way of approaching things to some of you, especially since we've been taught by society at large to focus on ourselves first. But please remember that not only is there more to life than just me, but that there is more to life than just this life. As spiritualists, we have a unique understanding that if we treat others with respect and with compassion, not only is that going to help them, but ultimately it's going to help us out as well. We believe that the highest morality is contained in the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Love those words. I really do. They are more than just words, though. It is more than just rhetoric. It is a wonderful expression of our knowledge that we go together, each and every one of us, towards the light and truth of spiritualism. Spiritualism casts a beautiful light on us all, and it helps us look beyond ourselves to see that when we have enough, we build a longer table and not a taller wall. If we see someone with no food on their table, we help them by giving them some of ours. If someone is struggling and looks like they're drowning, we throw them a life preserver. Essentially, what I'm talking about with the we go is the word empowerment. How many of you are familiar with that term? I'm sure any of you in business have heard the term empowerment. Empowerment is a wonderful word that is usually most associated with social scientist Julian Rappaport. It's a term that is used to describe giving people a sense of purpose, a sense of responsibility and control over their lives. When someone feels like they are coming from a place of strength in their life, they feel more comfortable reaching out to others and giving them the help they need to also feel empowered. So often we get so caught up in our own fears and concerns about having enough for ourselves that we just don't look beyond our own egos to see that quite often it's more about how much we're afraid of losing what we have rather than growing and sharing what we have. Do you understand the difference? It's a big difference in mindset. This is my favorite part of every sermon, actually. This is the inevitable part of the sermon where I speak as the skeptic for a moment. Okay, so you think you're so clever, Mr. Student Pastor Man. You think you have all the answers, do you? No, not really, but I do feel like Spirit helps me out. How am I supposed to feel empowered when I feel like I have all the cards stacked against me? I'm barely scraping by. I'm in a job that I hate. I don't have the love in my life that I want. I want more. I want better. And you know what? I totally would get what you're saying, and I appreciate that, and my hat's off to you for wanting to strive for more. That's beautiful. And I would like to add in there that we all deserve to be happy. We really do. Now, this may not be the most popular phrase with some people out there, but here it is. If you want to change your world, you must first change your mind. Once more, with feeling. If you want to change your world, you must first change your mind. If you are feeling disempowered, if you are feeling weak, if you don't feel like you're getting anywhere, but you want to empower yourself and you want to become a stronger, better, happier person, I don't necessarily have the time in this sermon to directly respond to that. However, I would like to suggest our church's sermon that is simply titled Manifesting Sermon. You can find that sermon as well as all of our virtual sermons from the church here on our Christabelle Spiritualist Church Facebook page, as well as on our Christabelle Spiritualist Church YouTube channel. I highly recommend that. They are great sermons to help guide you, to help you to have a better insight, a better understanding, and maybe help you to empower yourself. Now, remember that the spirit of the we go is all about knowing that as we follow natural law, we will always have enough. We affirm the moral responsibility of the individual and that we make our own happiness or unhappiness as we obey or disobey nature's physical and spiritual laws. And I know I bring that one up a lot, but man, I tell you, it really is true. We go together to learn, grow, strive, and thrive. Strive for what, you ask? Strive for each and every one of us to be the best person we can be. And while we're at it, doing our best to also help others be the best person that they can be. What a concept, isn't it awesome? So, to wrap things up, when we start to see beyond our own egos and focus more on the we go, then we all go together to learn, grow, strive, and thrive. Together, focus your attention on not only being the best you that you can possibly be, Focus your attention on being there for others and helping them to also be the best person that they can possibly be. It's not just about elevating yourself, but also about helping others to elevate themselves as well. Remember, it's not about the ego. It is all about the we go, as in we go together. And speaking of going together, if you are looking for a place that can help you to personally learn, grow, strive, and thrive, and help you to become that better, stronger, happier person, I know you've all been waiting for the entire sermon for me to say that, I highly recommend checking out your local Spiritualist church. I really do. They're great places. They're filled with wonderful people who are really ready, willing, and able to help and to help empower you. And if you're looking for a place to come call home, even virtually, feel free to join the Christabelle Spiritualist Church Facebook page. We have a Christabelle Spiritualist Church Facebook group. It's all about talking about spiritualism. Watch our sermons online, on YouTube, on Facebook. And do me a favor. Please feel free to say hi. We like it when people say hi. Thank you, everyone. And I wish you a wonderful, empowered week ahead as we go together. Thank you.